From February, gas prices is higher, and from a year ago, gas prices are higher. Now you can compare it to Biden, but the point is they're higher. And if you try and tell an American they're not, they feel like you aren't being genuine. And Democrats tried that, and it did not work out. So, maybe take a lesson from their books or plan to lose in the fall. I don't know what else to tell the Republicans.
Elizabeth?
Look, no, I'm glad that you admitted the Democrats made the same mistake, right?
No, because y'all are making it right.
I get it. The problem is that that's not exactly the case, because what was happening years ago was a war between Russia and Ukraine. And when that was happening and Kamala Harris was asked to justify why prices were where they were, she specifically said, this is for democracy. It's because of the values that we share with Ukraine. The American public understands that, and that's why this is worth it. Where years
Kamala
later...
Harris isn't our president.
That's not the point. Let me finish. She
also isn't basically what Donald Trump is saying. Is that this is for democracy?
No. He said this for democracy for Ukraine. No, he said this is for our democracy. So do you think the American public wants us to support the democracy in Ukraine or our own national security?
Well, I think what Kamala Harris's point, even though she's not the president, was making is that if Ukraine's democracy falls, it does jeopardize our democracy.
And what if America's national security falls?
They were also arguing that if America's national security would be
if I'm
stake for Ukraine as well.
Point, is the argument that it's fine to ask Americans to suffer?
I don't think we're asking Americans to suffer. What Donald Trump did not say there, as you pointed out incorrectly, was that prices are not high. He said they're not as high as we unfortunately expected them to be, knowing we were going to strike Iran. Also, the comparison stands because we're still dealing with the cost of Ukraine. That war is still going on. This is the opposite of a never-ending war. It's a few weeks of strikes, which Donald Trump, more than anyone else, wants to end as soon as possible. And he's, I think, the only one with the record of proving that he actually can lower gas prices like nobody else.
Wait, so no. He did actually say in his administration has said several times, not only with tariffs, but now with gas prices, that yes, the American people should need to make sacrifices, and they will feel that prices are increasing. And that has been his message. It was last year. They did not like it. You've seen his poll numbers go down. Democrats have been winning in special election after special election, and you're seeing him do it again, which I would say that probably the vast majority of Republican voters in swing districts don't agree with this message as a midterm message heading into the election this November. The other thing I'll say is, I'm sorry, Donald Trump has not pumped gas in 50 years. He has no idea how much.
He has ever pumped gas.
I'm not sure he has ever pumped gas. And I don't even actually know if anyone in his family has ever pumped gas at this point. But I will say he's not necessarily someone I would take advice on what Americans are feeling and whether or not prices are up. He bases everything on the stock market, and even then he paints a different picture. But yes, he's also saying that he has had the best economy since God knows when, which is also not true.
He said in his first term he had an incredible economy. That's not true. And it was.
Honestly,
it was an incredible economy.
And
he
prices
broke
also
records in that first term.
And that's the first term. But in his first year,
but that's what he said. I'm just making sure we're accurate about what he said.
I wish I had heard the president say, as Sheetal said, that he's asking the American people. Sochi, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah. My fault. But I really wish I had heard him say, as you said, to the American people to bear this burden more, to enlist the American people in this national project, because it is something that Americans will have to endure. And they're enduring it because we're engaging in a war with Iran that Iran has engaged with us over the last 47 years. The American people know the kind of threat that Iran represents. They understand the degree to which Iran has spilled American blood over the last 50 years, continues to threaten Americans every day. Our national security professionals are very good at interdicting that threat, but the threat is live all the time. And I think the American people would bear that burden if the president was a little bit more honest about it. He has been saying, yeah, it's a journey, it's a sojourn, it's a little excursion. That just minimizes the nature of the conflict. The nature of the conflict is epochal. We're not talking about November.
But
we're talking about the next 20 years.
They don't approve of it. They don't approve of the war, and that's what we're seeing in the polling.
So to Sochi's point, they don't. Majority of Americans, a pretty large majority of Americans, don't approve of the war. The Atlantic had an interesting story today, quoting a Trump supporter, Thomas Montoya, who voted for Trump in 2024 and now is frustrated about where things stand. He says the president is bragging about the economy, even though everyone Montoya knows is hurting. He promised to stop wars, but started one in Iran. And here's what Montoya says: when Trump opens his mouth, 3/4 of what he says is stories, lies. He plans to vote in the midterm elections in the fall, but he may not choose a Republican. And CBS poll from just a couple days ago, April 8th to 10th, Trump's disapproval on the economy is at 65%. His disapproval on inflation is at 69%. it does not seem that Americans are willing to give him a buy on this because they think Iran is such an important threat that they're willing to sacrifice for it. They're just not.
No, and they're also hearing every single night how terrible things are. The sky is falling. The manufacturing reports that were released today from the Philadelphia Fed and yesterday the Empire State reporting, we are beating expectations on manufacturing. I want to talk about tariffs, the reindustrialization of this country, and the fact that we're bringing a lot of those supply chains back. That is going
in
well.
What sense?
Jobless
in
claims
what sense?
in
because
manufacturing output.
Jobs
we are
were
a net
basically
energy
flat for the entirety of 2025.
Yes, it takes
job
time.
Creation overall,
it takes time to build factories. It takes time for
job
tax
creation
incentives
overall
to
for
go
the
in.
entire
Jobless
economy
claims were the
also
lowest they've been in
basically
years.
flat. We've heard consumer spending that Scott Bessent likes to talk about, but a lot of that is coming from people who are rich. Rich people are spending a lot of money right now. Poor people do not have a lot of money to spend. And so I think the point I'm trying to make is you can look at a lot of different statistics, but Americans are being crystal clear. They are not confident in this economy. And I think there's a lot of reason to suggest that the pain is not evenly distributed. And if the White House doesn't want to acknowledge that, they might be making a political mistake.
I mean, again, I'm getting back to jobless claims, manufacturing output, the fact that right now the U.S. has gone to a net exporter of petroleum for the first time since World War II. Our natural gas prices are at the lowest they've been in 3 months. They're at historic lows across the board. Meanwhile, in Europe, they've skyrocketed. And we are exporting more LNG than ever before. Thank God the Biden administration couldn't continue their idiotic pause on LNG export facility permitting. I'm saying, yes, I get it. Every night we're talking about gas prices are too high. They're 50 cents higher than they were 2 years ago. They're $1 lower than they were 4 years ago. They're too high. I hope they go down. They're trending down with where the oil futures are going and where we can expect them to be in the coming months. And the administration wants them to be there, too.
I think the thing is that Biden had 4 years. He made some promises on the economy. Voters did not like what he was able to deliver. And so Democrats lost. And the claim is, yes, they might not be as high as they were with Biden, but Americans are still not satisfied with where they are. And so you can quote statistics about all the gas and the petroleum, but if you don't feel it today, that statistic feels like you are living. You might as well be in the Artemis right now.
What is impacting how people feel? It's what they watch on TV.
No. What is impacting? No.
That's what literally. I mean, that's like, literally what the Biden people said, and
what
they were
people
wrong.
feel is when they go.
You know, they were wrong.
No, but they were wrong when gas prices were about $5. They said it was transitory. They were back to normal.
Yes, and they were wrong.
Because there were statistics that supported their view. GDP growth, our relative position to the rest of the world, you could argue all of those things. They were right. There were statistics that showed that our inflation was lower than the rest of the world, that we were relatively doing better than Europe and the rest of the world. They could point to statistics all day, but that ain't going to cut it when Americans are saying that's not how we
What were Democrats asking us to sacrifice for in the Biden years? I mean, the notion here that this, you played that congresswoman who's all of a sudden very concerned with profligacy. Give me a break. What were they asking us to sacrifice for and inflate the economy? It was build back better. It was healthcare. It was domestic spending. All of this goes into the gaping maw of American entitlements that are utterly insatiable. This is a project to advance American freedom and national
You're talking about, you're characterizing domestic spending as the gaping maw of entitlement programs. But a lot of Americans see that as where our money should be going.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
It is where our money is going. It's where the vast majority of it goes.
But many people, I think you just have to acknowledge that there are a lot of, for you, foreign wars are super important. But for a lot of Americans, and when you look at the polling, a lot of Americans say, actually, we want fewer of those. We want more spending at home. And that's actually what Donald Trump ran on. That's why this man, Thomas Montoya, is saying, so upset.
Just to respond briefly.
I don't think you're wrong. I'm not using Biden as a comparison point to say, let's do what Biden did. That's what I'm trying to get you all to realize is I'm giving Republicans free advice for an era that I just lived through for the last 4 years, right? I sat on this set and gave statistics, and Americans were saying, no, 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 and now you all are just switching the seat. What I'm saying, I think that right now, Americans are frustrated with where prices are, and they're blaming that on Republicans. Now, the issue will Democrats present a winning case on what they can do better. Now, if they go backwards,
Yeah.
I won't think they will.
There's another
but they
side to this
could.
polling, very briefly.
Okay.
Everybody's
Last
against the
word.
war, right? But if you go to CBS News polling and you look at YouGov CBS and they say what they want from this war, and it's an 80-20 proposition. They want freedom in Iran. They want Iran to stop threatening its neighbors. They want its nuclear program decimated. They want all these things from the war. They're skeptical we might get it, but they're not wholesale against the notion that we should defang Iran.
We all
I
agree with that. Yeah.
I think most Americans would agree with all those things.